It seems to me every time Pogba plays deep for United, and United, concede goals, it's somehow always his fault. He's too lazy. He's not getting around the pitch. All the ex-pros appear on television. You know who I'm talking about. And they talk about Pogba doesn't do enough for you defensively, whatever. So is that a problem? Because Bruno Fernandes isn't exactly Roy Keane off the ball either. So if my midfield three is Roy Keane, stationary Matic, or one of the other ones, and Pogba, is that an issue? Is that a problem?
I think the problem is Fred. Whenever Pogba plays with Fred, Pogba has to play his own game and play a game to watch Fred. If Matic plays, obviously Matic's a bit older. I think Matic's experience gives Pogba the confidence to play more of a natural game. But with Fred, you get the impression that Pogba's having to firefight all the time because Fred. I mean, listen, Fred plays a lot of games, but he can't tackle, he can't pass, he can't run, he can't score goals, doesn't create. So I don't know what he does. But he also it creates a sense of. Not so much panic. Okay,
let's stop picking on Fred. Sorry if I jump in there. Let's stop picking on Fred, right? Let's pretend it's Matic or McTominay, because I'm more interested. I'm not interested in. I know. Listen, just my view. I think it's your view too, right? Yeah. Neither of those three guys is particularly good to be a world-class player right now. Maybe McTominay might, but one day I'm not sure. I don't think so. But the point is, you've got one defensive midfielder, plus Pogba, plus Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, can that be pulled off in the modern game?
Yes, because this year United have got a better centre-half than Varane. Varane and Maguire look a better unit than Maguire and Lindelof, Maguire and Bailly. Maguire looked so much at ease at the weekend at Wolves with Varane alongside him. I think with Varane and Maguire, it will give United that extra solidity behind the midfield, and that'll make a difference. So I think they can get away with one holding midfielder, especially at home. There'll be games away from home where they have to, rethink it a little bit. And I do think this Pogba-Fernandes thing will become an issue against the better teams. But I think with Varane makes a massive difference to the whole dynamic of that defensive unit.
That's a really good point, and one that Jules and I hadn't considered. See, that's why we've got you guys the experts on. Do you think a Varane-Maguire partnership, the fact that they're going to potentially so solid now, that you can have one, whichever one of the three is, and again, I don't want to go pick on bully Fred like Augie just did, but whoever one it is, do you think that can work? Do you think Solskjaer can move the other pieces around?
Yeah, it can work, as long as Manchester United are going to dominate most of the games in terms of possession. And if you looked at some of the Barcelona players under Pep Guardiola and some of the Man City players, you wouldn't ever say they're good defensive players. But because they have a system where they're dominating the play, and then when they lose it, they try and win it back as quickly as possible. That's what Manchester United are going to have to do if they've got Pogba and Fernandes as two of the three midfield players. And they've also got to be careful how far the fullbacks go forward. They can't go forward too early. They've got to be in a position ready to, if they are counter-attack, to get back into a good defensive position.
So on that point, again, a different team, different players, but if you're talking about how the formula is, then will be a lot of possession and then quickly recovering the ball via quick pressing. That's what Pirlo tried to do. And Cristiano's stats in terms of pressure regains, in terms of pressing, he wasn't last in Serie A. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was, but Zlatan Ibrahimovic is old enough to be his dad, just about. Does it make sense to ask Cristiano to go and chase fullbacks and stuff and win the ball back and press?
But what Ronaldo, he wasn't going to do that. So that's why when the first season he was there, Matuidi did a great job for Juventus.
Okay, so how's Solskjaer going to fix that?
I disagree with Oggy. I would play Ronaldo up front. He might not be particularly good with his back to goal, but he won't stay in position. He won't do any defending when he goes out once.
Up front on his own?
Up front with the two wider players, narrower. So there's got almost a front three that can change their position slightly. You don't have to play Greenwood high and wide on the right-hand side and Sancho high and wide on the left-hand side. They could play like Chelsea did a couple of years ago when, I think it was under Conte, where the two wide players, Hazard and Pedro, played very narrow alongside Diego Costa.
And then you would still have the wheels and the threat behind.
Yes.
Because obviously they could run past it. Yeah. Augie, do you like that?
Not really, on the basis that I think that United are better when they have a striker like Cavani up front. Obviously, Cavani is not on his peak, but somebody who holds the ball up and it stops coming back. The too long United pre-Cavani had nobody up front capable of holding the ball, and it would forever go back. And United would be, in a defensive situation too often. So I don't see Ronaldo offering that kind of strength of a centre forward. But you're right. Obviously, if he plays in that position, he'll score more goals. But I do think that with Ronaldo, because of his kind of liability to roam around, you can't rely on him to play that number 9 role. I just don't think it in the Premier League anyway. I don't think you can rely on him to do that.
I think if you play a narrow front three, it's really difficult to have any room for Bruno Fernandes in the team, especially because your fullbacks aren't particularly good at going forward unless Wan-Bissaka's driving his Lamborghini.
Luke Shaw is. I mean, Luke Shaw's so many assists. Luke Shaw's become a much better attacking fullback than, I think Andy Robertson. He outstrips Andy Robertson in assists, so you can't say that Shaw's not a good attacking
Right, but
fullback.
Wan-Bissaka isn't. And also,
Well,
as far as Luke Shaw, I'm not as high on Luke Shaw as all you people are, and I don't particularly care about the assists because I think it's different when you've got a winger in front of you or whatever. But yes, Luke Shaw is fine going forward. I will correct myself. But as a combo, we're not talking Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, right? They're not going to hit crossfield balls to each other and create, certainly not from the right-hand side. That would be one of my concerns. But I do wonder, can you have that? Can you play narrow like that? And you mentioned Pedro and Hazard.
Hazard did it with Diego Costa and did it very well.
Can you do that with Bruno Fernandes? Or do you need to make all sorts of tactical tweaks to retain your balance and everything?
If you play the midfield three, Pogba is okay going wide. So he'll be narrow at times. He'll work with Shaw. When Shaw goes higher up the field, Pogba will go infield. Right. When Shaw's a bit deeper, Pogba could go wide. Sancho can then go wide. And one of the midfield players, Bruno Fernandes, is starting to make a lot more forward runs than he did in the first first season he was there, where he was very much the playmaker. Now he's running beyond the centre forward, so he's got the energy to do it.
Are you sold? Are you sold, Augie? Just give me your final verdict. Are you sold? And just tell me this, because Jules and I thought, okay, if I want to hear from both of you on this, just so we can wrap up our Ronaldo thing for now. I thought, even with this, I still felt that Chelsea, Liverpool, and City, in whatever order you want to put them in, are still substantially ahead of United in terms of the prospects.
Mind you,
am I wrong?
Just going back to a point Oggy made. Oggy said Manchester United for quite a while haven't had a player that's good with his back to goal that can't hold up the play. Who was the best player in Serie A by a mile at holding up the play, and who's going to be the best player in the Premier League?
Let's not go back. You're talking about Romelu Lukaku, but of course they've all decided Lukaku can't drop a bag of cement, right? And the football gods and the whatever committee and all those clever people at United said he was rubbish. So let's move on from him. But yeah, can I just get an assessment here from you about this?
Well, I mean, I'll go first as I might miss my flight. I think that the top four are very close this year. I think City would have been a lot further ahead. Had they signed a striker, they would have pulled away. But I think without the centre forward, I think City are now back in the pack. Chelsea for me look the strongest. I do think that United, with having signed Varane and Ronaldo, I think they're the fourth out of the top four, but it's very close.
Okay, Robbo?
I think it's very close as well. I don't think the signing of Ronaldo makes them that much better. Varane is the big signing for them. He'd make them much better defensively. I think it'd be a great partnership with Maguire. Both read the game well.
You have them ahead of Liverpool?
I have them ahead of Liverpool. I wasn't convinced by Liverpool at the weekend, so I have them just ahead of Liverpool.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.